All right, can you hear me now? I can't hear you. That's odd. Huh? Oh, that's probably because I'm not supposed to be heard right now.
This is all going out on the stream.
Oh.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen and in-betweeners, on this week's On the Rocks live from home edition, Quarantine and Chill, we continue Pride Month with music. With Grammy nominee Ty Herndon is here, and YouTube sensation Steve Grand with my guest co-host, pop singer Joey Suarez, and me, your favorite host with the sassy most. So raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
Thank you for being
Boulevard.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, happy Pride, everybody. Buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. Okay, so I'm sad that Pride parades are canceled, but I'm so glad Pride bodies are also canceled. Signed, your fabulous carb quarantine queen. Wah, wah. Also, some of you out in social media land are shouting all lives matter, but then refuse to acknowledge Pride in the LGBT community. So which one is it? Okay, today's show is brought to you by Just4.fans, the top award-winning site connecting adult content creators and their fans. Sign up for free at Just4.fans. Kurt, do you have a pun for us today?
I do, yes.
Okay, hurry up, Kurt.
How do you kill a circus?
Kill a circus?
Yeah,
you call PETA?
You go for the jugular.
Oh, God, Kurt, that was awful. That didn't make sense. It's jugular.
Yeah, the jugular, you know?
Okay. All right. That's enough of you. This show, it's Pride Month. Let's talk to the gay people. This show is brought to you by Straw Hat Media. You can watch and or listen to our over 200 episodes at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. New episodes drop every Thursday. Hello to our listeners around the nation on iHeartRadio, Stitcher, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and Pandora's podcast section. And if you want to watch the video, catch us on YouTube and on the Facebook pages of Trending Now, or Now Trending, GED Magazine, and I Love Gay LGBT, and of course on the Rocks Radio Show's Facebook, and streaming live on the Trending Now app. And we are on the Roku channels of OutAt.tv and Kingman Productions. Add and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast player. Like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will zoom in and show up. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Send us your questions, comments, and your nudes. Upcoming this week digitally, June 28th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, On The Rocks will be doing a special Pride episode for Here TV and ourpride.org featuring a slew of our past LGBT guests, including RuPaul's Mayhem Miller and Honey Davenport, Luciana, Jay Rodriguez, Emmy nominee Scott Schofield, and more. In fact, Joey will be making an appearance as well. Tune in on ourpride.org. Also, catch the new issue of Metrosource National Magazine for my interviews with Leslie Jordan, pop star Luciana, and the band Betty. All right, let me introduce my guest co-host who's going to keep me in check today. Joey Suarez is an independent artist, has already earned over 450,000 plays worldwide. Starting in just 2016, his previous singles High in the Sky and Love Me Back have been featured in Billboard, Huntington Post, and Digital Journal. His release of Alive, with the power of chart-topping Billboard promoter Bobby Shaw, debuted number 3 on Billboard's breakout dance charts, and his latest single, Changing History, with recording artist Jackie Nelson, is an anthem of change, inspired by the movement of the LGBT community. Whether you're listening to his music or drooling over his pics, you're paying attention to Joey. Please welcome Joey Suarez.
Hi, how's it going, y'all? Hope you're excited as I am.
Hey, girl, hey.
Right.
Okay, so I know you. You're used to being out, especially during Pride. I mean, you've played almost every major Pride city. You're active. You're just out. How have you been surviving quarantine?
I think like everyone else, social media. Everyone's given
Drinking?
into some.
Oh.
I mean, drinking only gets you so far. You drink and then post on social media. It's kind of like a journey. And
that's true. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, social media, TikTok. I've been obsessed with TikTok. It's just everything right now. Find me on TikTok.
So I started a TikTok and I'm just like, oh my God, this is too much. That on top of everything else, it literally is just too much. And it's for the kids, as I like to say, but you are blowing it up on TikTok. And I love that little dance you do. When I try to do it, it's the only cardio I do in my whole week. But it's that like leg dance, and you did it everywhere. Like you almost fell down the Grand Canyon.
That's true. Shuffling. You call it shuffling. It's a dance move in the style of music that I produce, which is EDM music. And it's really fun. TikTok's is a wonderful place for dancers. And honestly, create TikToks and put them on your Instagram. They do better than regular posts. Didn't hear it from me.
And every day I'm shuffling. So there's been a lot of I know. So there's been a lot of stuff happening socially and politically within the LGBT community. The Black Lives Matter movement, protest and social media uprising. You come from a younger generation of the LGBT community, and I'm assuming it was easier to come out, or at least there were more out role models for you. What is your view on everything going on? And do you think your generation is becoming more politically aware?
We're definitely very politically aware. I'd say even the generation younger than myself, a little younger, even though I look really young. They've become very, very politically driven, and they live in a world where politics just rule the news and rule TV and rule the TV shows we watch. You know, the storylines that we tell these days are so politically driven. And I think that kids, especially I have an 18-year-old niece who's a young African-American woman who just, her opinion matters so much because she's absorbing all this information at an age where, like you said, we're some people who were out, but not many. You know, a big part of me coming out so early was because there wasn't many people. And nowadays, that's been normalized to a degree that people are focused more on the politics than anything else. Can you still see me?
Yeah. It says hashtag BLM.
Oh my God! Well, there you go. I guess it decided that
it did.
It was just going to give me a message. You cannot start your video because the host has disabled it. You made it so I can't.
Kurt.
All right, I'm back.
There we go.
But I mean, hey, there you go. Black Lives Matter. It's a big deal to me. And yes, I'm sure it's a big deal to a lot of you.
Now, you are actually Latino, but you look very Caucasian. And that must be weird in people assuming, oh, he's white. He's not affected by racial inequality. But you, in fact, are a fellow Latino.
I mean, that's a great subject to bring up. I'm what you call white passing. I'm 100% Hispanic. My family is as Latino as you could possibly imagine. My mom and dad are immigrants. So as a white passing first generation American, I do find myself in a position where although I'm the lowest denominator of a white privileged man, meaning I grew up with white skin in a very Hispanic family, I still have to accept that the color of my skin inherits a certain responsibility. And that responsibility is acknowledging that my privilege is there. And I had to face that. My brothers and sisters are extremely dark and they look very Hispanic. So for me personally, to be invited and given opportunities that I knew were solely based on the color of my skin because they are smarter and more talented than me in so many ways, I became very aware of social injustice and white privilege at a very young age, to the degree where, I mean, I don't make many moves in my life where I don't consider the people in my life who are underprivileged. Everything I do is a paved path for them to walk so they don't have to dodge the obstacles that society's put in front of them. And so to be in a time where the world is talking about these things, I do think it's an interesting conversation to have, especially coming from me, who's so white passing.
Now, do you think musicians should be expected to make a social and political statement? Do you think, it's their duty? Do you think we should force them to? Do we drop them if they're not saying anything?
I'll say this. Not everything should be polarizing. Not everything you should have an opinion on. In fact, there are a lot of things in life that you shouldn't because you don't deserve to. So in this case, because society is living and breathing a movement, you must become a part of that movement. You're either against the grain or with it. And that's not pressure. That's just political science. That's just, you can't put yourself in a situation where your fans are going to ask you how you feel about something. And your answer can't be, I don't know, because you're in a time period where you're judged even if you don't know. So that responsibility is something you have to take upon yourself. It doesn't come from your fans or your family or really, I mean, it does come from the people who need it, but you need to find reasons in your heart to take that stance, not just because it's the right thing to do. It's because as a responsible person of influence, your opinion matters. And so you need to put your opinion where your mouth is and your actions are and be prepared for that.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for that insight. I've been talking to everybody about it because everybody has a different nuance. And, you know, I think everybody's afraid to actually make a big statement because they don't want to say something wrong. Where in this point, if you're not directly affected, anything can be taken incorrectly. And it is a time to listen and kind of just take a breath.
Right. And I mean, the only advice I ever give, honestly, because I'm a white privileged man who, from a lot of people's perspective, lived a very good life. The only time that I struggled with the same thing. I didn't know what to post. I didn't know what to say. People were like reaching out to me and being like, you're being silent. And it made me super uncomfortable the way that they were approaching it. And I realized that I needed to be a little more forward about the way I thought. I was on Facebook, but not on Instagram. And I reached out to my niece, who, like I said, is 18 years old and a young African-American, Hispanic, Haitian woman living in Florida. And I wanted to hear how she felt. I was like, it doesn't matter how I feel. I don't feel social injustice. You know, I'm reassured every time I'm pulled over because my skin's white, you know, like that's ridiculous. And so I asked my niece, I was like, how do you feel? Like, what do you want to see me doing as your uncle who's out there public as can be? And she's a part of the gay community. She's pansexual. And she, you know, she said she wanted to see me protest. She wanted to see that I cared. She wanted to see if that's what she wanted from me, then that's the only follower at the end of the day that matters to me. Her and my 11 other nieces and nephews who are all Asian and Black. So it's very much a situation where, you know, you have to equip yourself with the right arms. And my only advice I give people is to go to your community, go to someone as close as you can find who is within the community of pain and ask them what you should do. If they tell you anything, don't judge, don't even question it, just do it, because it's not your place to judge or question it. It's your job at this point to take your privilege and use it for good. Use it for the people who've been fucked over the last 200 years we've been a country and make sure that they're getting the best out of their situations. Facts. And unless you feel that way, I don't know if I can be your friend. Truthfully.
And there we go. Kurt, is Ty waiting for us?
Not yet.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, and I do love that advice. And for you, it's very interesting because, you know, you and I have done many, many Pride events. And depending how big the Pride is, they'll have like, oh, it's the Latin stage, it's the hip hop stage. And so looking at you, you're always, you know, in the mainstream stages because, like you said, of your look, also your sound. You know, it's a headline stage, but it's funny, right? But you hear Joey Suarez, and you're like, oh, well, you know, and I know sometimes like the Latin, like they want the Latin community to come together, but sometimes it can be a little segregating. It'd be like, you don't have the main stage, you have the smaller stage with the tent, and it's kind of far off because I've been booked on the Latino stage as well as the main stage. And I tell you, backstage, where it's located, amenities for, you know, the side stages are just not as glamorous. And so even there, it can be a little segregating.
Yes. And I think, I mean, that's an important subject you're bringing up is within the gay community, we definitely have a lot of obstacles to get over. And one of those obstacles is how we view each other in regards to race. And even then, even though there's not a lot of like criticism and there's not a lot of hate, we have segregated in some regards to our culture. And we definitely need to acknowledge that and make sure that we're not segregating groups that otherwise need to be a part of something. And whatever that something is, even if it has no benefit, you're still creating a situation where oppression can live. And I think that's kind of where we all need as a community need to start being a little more inclusive. You know, Pride, I love that this movement took place over Pride because I think it's enlightening people that Pride has never just been about gay people. It's about people who are unified behind unique mentalities, queer, gay, trans, all of those things. These are just unique people. And we need to unite behind the idea that everyone, including Black and trans and everyone in between, is equally celebrated. And if we make Pride Month just simply pride in being who you are, then we've exceeded our own limitations that LGBTQ plus has given us. You know, titles do nothing but segment our brains. So we need to definitely graduate from this idea and start considering everyone just human. End of story.
Tell me about your latest single for Pride, Changing History, with the wonderful Jackie Nelson, by the way.
Oh, I love Jackie. Jackie, I miss you.
You guys are a sexy couple, by the way.
What?
You guys are so sexy together, by the way. Gay, straight,
thanks.
in between, it doesn't matter.
You know, we always laugh when we're filming things together because we get so grossed out by one another. We're just like, because she's basically my sister, and I'm like, I can't do this stuff, but it looks great, I guess. I love her to death. And our next single is actually the first song her and I wrote a year ago, called Changing History. And we just kind of been holding on to it in our hearts, waiting for a time where we knew it was going to resonate with people. And we knew Pride was probably that time. But then when all the movement came in and just everything going on subject matter wise with press, we just found that the song brought so much more meaning. And we even brought an acoustic version in, and we were inviting guest stars just because we feel like the song has so many more faces to be had. So we're really excited to debut it this week. We have 2 versions coming out, an acoustic version and a dance version, because I'm involved. So I definitely am super excited about that, but I'm also just feeling really blessed that we had a piece of music for the time and that we get to share that with everybody, and it feels appropriate.
Well, it's interesting because now that a lot of us are at home during quarantine, whereas before we would just like slide by, give something a little bit, listen, but now people actually have more time and more focus to actually saturate content, music, and kind of enjoy it, which I'm very happy about, because there's a lot of content out there and we need to be uplifted and we need messages of hope, especially right now.
I agree 100%. And social media is a beautiful thing right now. You can really find
it can be.
I think there's a world out there where during this time, because everybody was on the internet, you could not just find yourself on social media, but find other people like you, like find your niche and realize there's a whole group of people just like you. So social media has some really good sides, got some terrible sides, but it definitely, if you use it for the right reasons, can benefit you.
Fabulous. Kurt, is Ty there yet?
Not yet.
What is going on? All right. Joey, I want you to tell me, what was it like coming out for you?
Coming out, I came out at the ripe age of 14 years old.
Oh my God, that is so young. I didn't come out till I was a junior in college. When I hear 14, I'm like, I don't even remember what I was doing at 14.
Oh my God.
Watching cartoons still.
A junior in college was like 2 years ago, Alex. Shut up. These cameras do wonders. I love Facetune.
Hey, no joke. Zoom has a little button you can press, and it like helps.
It's called glow up. We're just young again.
Yeah.
No, but coming out was interesting. I grew up Mormon, so coming out was not an easy thing, but I think I came out at an early age, mainly because I was so aware of what sexuality was. And I knew exactly what my sexuality was. The hardest part for anyone around me was that I was too young to know that. So I had to wait about 4 years before people were like, you know what? You might be gay. Which I think is great, because I think at the end of the day, when you're young, you don't have enough experience for adults to credit you for your thoughts. And I mean, as ridiculous as that was personally, it did teach me a lot about how adults work. And so I've always told people who are young, even when they know how they feel, just, if you want to put a title to it and that gives you liberation, do it. But there's no shame in prolonging till you're at an age where you can truly explore yourself and truly be around people who can help you explore yourself. Because later on in life, I thought I was gay from a young age, and then grew up to figure out I was bisexual, because I later developed, I kind of let myself decide like, oh, women are beautiful too. So you never know where you're going to end up at the
separation. Like when I first started to have different feelings was in high school, but it wasn't sexual at all. It was emotional. I knew that my best friend, we couldn't be apart from each other, not even on the holidays. Like we were together, either spending the night at each other's house every single night, but it was not like this sexual revolution. It was really emotional. In fact, the idea, it's just still hadn't crossed my mind that, hey, you're gay. And then in college, then it became more sexual. And then of course now it's like, woohoo, but it was more of emotional. And there are ways that sex doesn't necessarily mean your emotional connection, and vice versa as well.
Yeah, well, a big part of my coming out was the friends I had who we all kind of came out literally together, and we're still best friends to this day. And the best part of being their best friends is we've always kind of had an insight into each other's journey from coming out into growing up. And I think a lot of people, when you're growing up, you don't have a lot of insight into those experiences, mainly because you kind of just flutter from person to person to person to person. But if you retain a lot of those relationships, you might learn that a lot of people you met along the way are all just experiencing things, whether you're straight and figuring out if you're gay, or gay and figuring out if you're straight, or bi and figuring out that you're pan. These are things that I think for our generation is kind of an issue. But when I talk to like younger generations, like my niece, or my niece who's 18, asking her why she was pansexual wasn't even a question. I was like, so why are you pansexual? She's like, because people are beautiful. And I was like, wait a minute, where's all the hurt and the pain and the resistance and the gay culture and what do you mean this is a simple idea? I don't understand. And I realized that she was 14 at the time, just as old as I was when I came out. But her reasons were so much more simple, so much less to do with pain, so much less to do with perseverance. It was all about self-acknowledgement. And that was the most beautiful thing to learn. I think I was like 22 or something when she came out to me. Or no, it was 16, 18, 2 years ago. Okay, I was young, 26. But either way, when I talked to her about it, it was a beautiful experience to hear that there was no pain in that decision. There was no resistance. She didn't fear being not just gay. She said pansexual. She didn't even want to throw herself in being gay or bi or anything like that. She just wanted to tell her mom and tell me, her gay uncle, that she loved people. And it was the most beautiful experience. And I realized that the reason we live for our kids and our niece and our nephews is because they will graduate those experiences and excel them because they won't have to hold on to them. You know what I mean? They'll kind of just take that experience that you've given them, that reassurance that they can be who they are, and then learn the next lesson, learn how to be an individual, learn how to be a successful businesswoman, and not get caught up in society's views on being an individual, which is just ridiculous. It's a waste of time.
Now, as a musician, did you decide, hey, I'm going to be an out and open musician? Did you ever have that moment like, if I could stay in the closet, be a teeny bopper, I could be like a Justin Bieber?
I am one of those people who was never given the option. As my brothers and sisters told me, I was born on a rainbow and cushioned by glitter. My fairy wings just fell off as I grew up. I've had a backwards experience in finding interest in women. And I think that that's just like my unique story. So growing up, I knew I was gay. Most people assumed I was gay. And I just needed to find where my happy place was. For me, it was very different. I just didn't want to be super gay. I didn't feel like I was. I lived in a world where they're like, oh, you're gay, so you like all these gay things. And I'm like, but I don't. I love doing so many other things that only straight boys do, apparently. And it just drove me in another direction. And I found that everyone has their own journey, whether you start out thinking you're straight because that's what society tells you and you find out you're in the middle, or if you start out thinking you're gay because everyone's like, you a fairy boy. And then you figure out that women are just equally as beautiful. Like, don't put yourself in a category. Just excel beyond the situation you're given. That's the only drive you should have.
Now, do you think you would be more of a hit if you were straight?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or in the closet. And that's so, weird to me. It's not weird. It's just a fact of our society, but it's like born the way that you are limits you automatically. And, do you think that a true crossover is possible?
Yes, it is absolutely possible. And although it is hard, and Steve can speak to this too, and I'm sure Ty as well, it is that at the end of the day, what you're always told growing as a gay musician is everyone's whispering in your ear, don't get stuck in the pride circuit, don't get stuck doing pride gay shows, don't get stuck doing all the gay press, don't. And like, sure, it can feel like everyone's telling you you're gonna like segregate yourself from mainstream, but at the end of the day, what you really should be grateful for is the gay community is a beautiful community to be a part of. It's a great platform to leap off of. And there is a time, and the time is now, where gay artists like Lil Nas and Troye Sivan are really paving ways for other gay artists to make their own paths in every industry, because we're not just pop stars, we're not just EDM stars, we're not just country stars. You know, gay people are everywhere, and until we have a gay person for every faction of every industry, we're not done yet. And that's just kind of the journey right now.
You know, I would love to ask Ricky Martin if he could go back in time, if he would be true to himself and be an open performer from day one. I wonder if he would say, no, the way that I did it was fine, because now he has this big voice for the community. He's also got the money. But it'd be interesting to ask him if he could go back and redo that.
I mean, in my opinion, you know, he comes from the Latin community, and the Latin community, we come from a lot of Catholicism and a lot of...
And machismo.
Yes. And so for us, you know, Latins are much more conservative than people could imagine. And for his community, I can't speak for them or for his experience, but having a Hispanic mother and all my Hispanic siblings and cousins and uncles and aunts, I think that he did it in a way where he had to, you know, like the world would have not been as open to his music. And I'm glad he did it the way he did, because at the end of the day, when he did choose to come out, he didn't half-ass it. And because he didn't half-ass it, he became a voice for the community. And he's now, you know, a gay icon, but he also helped all of those Latin people get over the fact that he was gay. They're like, yeah, but I love his music. Yeah, but they needed that. They didn't have anyone else in their life to help them get over that hump. And by having that happen, a lot of gay community members felt like they had a cushion to coming out. And that's kind of beginning the process. And the Latin community definitely needs that, because they're a little more involved in our lives than America thinks. They're much more hovering parents.
Very true. And then you deal with that religious versus sexuality. And most Latino cultures are repressed sexually anyway, even though Latin men are the most sexually active beings, gay or straight. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to go try to find Ty. And when we come back, we're going to do rapid fire with Joey Suarez. Woo-hoo. And we're back. Still didn't find Ty. I apologize to our viewers and listeners waiting for Ty. Hopefully he will be coming soon. We have Steve Graham coming up. So, Joey, you want to play a little rapid fire with me?
I'm always for the game. I forget it every time because I'm probably tipsy like I am now every time we play it.
Okay. The strangest, craziest habit you've picked up in quarantine?
TikToking.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's part of your business now too. It's like,
yeah, but you just it is beyond
but you do
part
it so
of my
well.
That was very unexpected. Very unexpected.
One of my favorite ones is the one where every time you fall into the bed, your outfits change, or when you hopped into the shoes, your outfit changed. That was good. I'm like, how'd they do that? Okay. Strangest thing a fan has said to you or asked you?
I mean, oh my God, you've asked me this before. A picture of my feet.
That's right. Oh God, that is still so weird. You know, I'll wear socks in the shower if I have an opportunity. I think feet are so gross. Okay. The worst or funniest onstage mishap?
Oh my God, the worst? There's so many. The funniest, oh my God. I forget what order my songs are in every time. I don't know why. I just get so excited when I'm in front of an audience that I'll decide the whole show needs to be in a completely different order. And I won't even know it's happening, but my team will tell me afterwards. They're like, so you decided to switch this song with this song, not do this song. We didn't have that song. So I put them through hell. And I'm so sorry, y'all, but I have too much fun on stage. I just feel it out.
That happens to me sometimes when like my nerves just go out the window. I had to perform the finale for International Rag Fest, which was all the ragtime piano players.
Yes.
And
awesome.
So it was singing Alexander's Ragtime Band. And there was all these different instruments. And between each verse, I was supposed to say tuba or fiddle or whatever. I couldn't remember what the long list was. So I wrote them on my hand. But I got so nervous that during my beginning part of the song, I'm like, come on along. Everything like sweat off. So it was like a big black ink mess, and I didn't know what the instruments were coming. So I just shouted instruments out, and it wasn't the instruments' time. I shouted out instruments that were not even there.
That's so funny.
Needless to say, I was not asked back. I literally said, trumpet. no goddamn trumpet.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. And everybody was like, ugh. And then I forgot the words. How do you forget the words to Alexander's Ragtime Band? Anyway, okay, Joey Suarez, who is your celebrity crush?
Oh shit. Fuck. Oh my God, I should know this off the top of my
Oh,
head.
everybody has that celebrity that they're like,
I know. And I'm like, why can't I think of who it is right now? It must be the drink. But I can tell you she's pretty thirsty. So there's probably a few in there. We should come back to this one. I literally am drawing a huge blank. I can't think of any.
Please. Mine is Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy in a heartbeat. Boom. Okay. Joey Suarez, what is the worst date you've ever had?
Oh my God, you really want to know? This is great. Oh my God, this is great. Y'all, all the twinks, listen in. Okay. So I was 18 in college, living in a dorm, got on Grindr, found a buff, sexy college dude to take me on a date. Picks me up in his Porsche. And I'm thinking,
oh my
wow.
God.
I know. I was like, man, I really got this worked out. Drives me 2 blocks. He was very cute and muscular and just, for any twink, you just were so excited. And 2 blocks down, he stops the car and goes, I'm going to take you back. And I look at him and I go, why? Like, what's going on? Did I do something? He's like, honestly, you just look too young. And I looked at him and I was like, are you fucking serious? He's like, yeah. And turns around, takes me back to my dorm, drops me off, doesn't say a fucking word, gets better. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm performing a show in this exact same fucking town. I'm at a bar that sponsored me to be there. And this guy has the audacity to walk up to me and strike up a conversation. And I probably should have been nicer, but as you can tell, there was a lot of bitterness in there. So I just simply turned around and walked away.
And you are quarantining with your boo. You have a boo, right?
I do. He's working on his laptop right over there. Hi, baby. I kicked him off his video games so I could do this radio show. He's not happy.
So what tips do you have for quarantining with your boo?
Every night's date night. As long as he's
How
cooking.
can you walk?
Honestly, I think that everyone, if you're stuck at home and you have a little bit of spare income, which I doubt many of us do your best to make it a cozy place so that both of you feel like it's a fresh new environment. Don't be afraid to redo one room and repaint another and take down that painting you fucking hate so much that his ex-boyfriend brought in. Definitely do anything you got to do to make the home feel like a cozier place, and then find a show to binge watch. It's best advice.
Like, you're always with somebody. I mean, that has to be really annoying.
No, I'd say we work well together, but we work well apart, meaning we can work in the same room, not talk for 8 hours, and both get a lot accomplished. So it feels right.
Yeah. All right. Steve Grant has showed up a little bit early, so I don't know what happened to Ty. So I'm sorry, guys. But I'd love to bring on Steve Grant. I'm so glad he showed up early. I don't know what we're going to talk about. Go.
Oh.
Can you hear me, Steve? I don't think he was prepared to be on so early.
He probably thought he had a few minutes before you connected him.
Yeah, well, he kind of did. There he is. Oh, my Lord.
How's it going?
Okay, let me introduce him. We're starting this segment a little bit early. And he's like, oh my God, what happened? Okay, Steve Grant with 24 million views on YouTube, a number 3 and number 10 album on the Billboard Independent Album Charts, and one of the most successful music Kickstarter campaigns ever under his belt. Steve Grant has not just broken the world, but has changed the game in how to be a successful singer-songwriter in this era. 2019 included multiple tours and residencies across the country and the world. In addition, Steve released 2 new music videos from his sophomore album, Not the End of Me, Disciple, which is one of the most heartfelt and powerful songs on the album, and my personal favorite, Pink Champagne, which explores Steve's tumultuous relationship with alcohol. Hello, my life story. Steve released Not the End of Me in 2018 to critical acclaim. It reached #2 on the iTunes pop chart and #10 on Billboard's independent album chart. And of course, it's available on Steve's beautiful website. And he sings at live shows and all across digital downloading and streaming platforms. With the release of his very first album, All American Boy, in 2015, I can't believe it's been 5 years ago. Steve Grant broke the mold for the traditional singer-songwriter, having self-funded a viral video of the title track, then fan-funding the release and creating a vocal and energetic fan base. The openly gay artist from Chicago created a place for himself in the music industry and has not looked back since. Please welcome Steve Grant.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello. Sorry that we started a little bit early. I was like, oh, there's Steve's bedroom.
No. I know. I was already. Do you guys need me to grab headphones really quick? Am I getting feedback?
You're beautiful. Well, you're beautiful, okay. But you're fine. Well, you're fine, but you're fine. You know what I mean? Okay, here we go. Welcome to On the Rock. Since you first hit YouTube with All American Boy, you kind of created this new method, a successful method of how to promote yourself as an independent artist. And we know social media, content creation has certainly changed over the years. How has your creative process changed to match that, or has it changed?
Oh, geez. Well, it's already changed so much since I had my first big hit. Like you said, in 2013, I had All American Boy. And that was what kind of, I was able to transcend kind of the YouTube world, and I was on a lot of the mainstream press that helped me get a lot of attention. But I don't know, it really hasn't changed my creative process. I mean, I'm still trying, I think, for decades and decades now, a good song is a good song, and something that connects with people. That's always something that I think is going to be universal and very human. But as far as the way that you go about, like producing a song, I guess that's a little different. Now, the creative process, I guess, you could have a producer in a different state and be sending them things and kind of be going back and forth that way. So that's something that technology has afforded us. And then also it's so much, I think the biggest thing is that creating videos is so much easier and cheaper than it's ever been. And I think music videos have been a big part of the success that I've had telling a story with a song and the visual elements. So that's also been a big thing that has changed.
Now, that can be good or bad, because everybody can now essentially produce content and put it out there. Anybody with a smartphone. So now there's all this content out there. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Some good content nobody's seeing. Some bad content is all over the place. How do you keep your voice being heard? Like, what would be your advice for somebody that's new to the scene, that's putting out this great content on social media?
God, I'd honestly just say be patient and just continue to keep trying to get better. I really do believe that good content does have a way of, it's like the cream rises or whatever. I think people are always constantly in search of good quality content. So I think people will find it as long as you're doing something compelling. And sometimes it takes a couple of times. Like sometimes your first project, even if it maybe is really good, like people aren't going to notice, but just keep going. And I think now more than ever, even when I first started, the difference is now, like, you just have to keep creating content. Like it really is a very quick cycle. And now the kids are on TikTok, and like, that's how people are getting noticed. So it really is a whole different world. But I think always what has been true for all of human history is, like, compelling art always does get noticed eventually.
Well, okay. And let's talk about it. You and Joey have this as well. I mean, being, good to look at certainly doesn't hurt, especially in the LGBT community. Steve, people love your music. They love your live performances. They love the streams that you're doing for Pride and at home. But then you post a Speedo pic and bam, people really love you. Is there a struggle between being appreciated for your music, being overshadowed by people appreciating your assets?
Hey, I know all at this point. I'm good with all of it, as long as people are tuning in for some reason. I think that you guys in your business know this as well. It's like, for whatever reason, people are coming to you, tuning in, paying attention, like, you know, happy to have everyone.
I received this question many different ways. What's love and dating like for Steve Grand?
I've had two major relationships in my life, and the last one ended probably about 2 years ago. And so lately, I don't know. I feel like I'm not looking to date for fun. I'm really looking to find someone, but also I'm not in a hurry. So if you put all that together, like, nothing is really going on romantically with me. So I'm just having fun, you know, playing the field and all that kind of stuff.
Well, and with the music career, especially with your touring, you know, you'll be at a residency for a few months, then you'll be on a cruise, then you'll be at this pride and that pride. There's really kind of no time. Now, do you feel that's a bit isolating at times because you have these highs and lows of your career? Sometimes you're tired, sometimes you want that companionship, but you're always on the go when we're not under quarantine. Without that kind of romantic involvement, like having like your built-in best buddies, so to speak, do you ever feel isolated in your career because of that?
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes it's harder for me than other times. I think overall, I'm someone that is more introverted, so I'm okay with being alone. But I found, especially through quarantine, that at first I thought, I was like, this is fine for me, because like I saw people like really struggling, people that were more extroverted, they were really struggling with not being with their friends and not being with people. But I was like, okay, whatever, I can do this. But I didn't realize until about, you know, several weeks went by, and I didn't realize that it really does help me when I'm kind of like pulled out of my shell and pulled out into the world and kind of forced to be around people, whether that's for a show or like a meet and greet or being with friends. So I did kind of struggle in the beginning of this because I didn't realize how important that was for me to seek out kind of naturally with what I do. I'm in situations where I'm around people a lot. But because that wasn't happening like on a regular basis, I found myself kind of struggling and getting like more and more isolated. So now I've learned that I really have to make an effort to reach out to people, and that's been good.
And I would definitely say to anybody listening, if you do feel isolated, you know, there's isolation in the LGBT community for a large number of us anyway, whether they've been ousted by their family or they feel like they just don't fit in. And then this on top of that, reach out. I had a friend that I'm close to who's a big performer, and I had no clue that there was this depression going on underneath this isolation, because the kind of personality and what you put out is kind of like smoke and mirrors. You always put out the positive stuff, you always put out the good stuff, so you don't really know what's going on. And so now, without even seeing people in real life, we're just seeing them on Instagram or whatever. So don't take it for granted that people around you are doing okay.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I just want to add to that and say, like, I really only post the best parts of my life. Like, I get uncomfortable when people like will notice if I'm not in a good place. So I haven't in a you know, the last couple of years like posted anything where it's like a cry for help. But I have plenty of times in over the last couple of months or whatever that I felt like I need someone, kind of thing. So, you know, even someone in my position where you would think I have like a lot of people to reach out to, like it has been even a struggle for me. So I think that even if you think someone is, you know, doing totally okay, don't go by their social media, because a lot of us are really just trying to put our best foot forward for our career and all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
For sure. Indeed. Now, people are very vocal on social media right now. And as a social media personality, how have you dealt with fan haters, weird fans, angry fans in general in the past who are very vocal on your social media? How have you dealt with that?
I've been really lucky. I mean, as of late, I mean, maybe it's because I'm not like doing anything, you know, maybe because I'm not doing anything like super groundbreaking or whatever. I've kind of just kept my core group, and I feel like I really have a great core group of fans. So I appreciate them so much. And for the vast majority of them, they're really good. They're really very positive. But I do think it's important to like hear from people that maybe are disappointed in something you've done or whatever. Like, I think it all kind of balances out. I think there's a distinction though between when, you know, life is kind of going along and you're checking your social media to kind of see, what people are saying, as opposed to when you're getting like a lot of traction, maybe if you've released a song or a video, if you said something stupid in an interview and you're getting a lot of attention, I think it's important to like step back from that, because it really can get very ugly. Like when it gets ugly, it gets really, really ugly. So there is like this fine line that you have to navigate between, you don't want to just like be in this world where everyone's just complimenting you all the time and your ego is just getting constantly inflated, but you also don't want to like go down in like the dirt and the muck of like the gutter of the internet, where people are just could be so nasty. So, honestly, I'm still trying to navigate that line within myself, and sometimes I'm better about it than others. I think that generally, like, I try not to search myself. If someone like says something, like at me, I will probably see that. But I've noticed like if I'm at a low point, like I'll like search on Twitter to see like if anyone's saying anything. So I make a point now to not do that. And I feel like healthier when I make sure that I'm not searching my name.
That is good advice.
Amen.
When I search up my name, it's my one night stay at Beverly Hills police department. But you have shared so much about your life, your coming out story. One of the videos that I want to take a little peek at is "Don't Let the Light In," and this video charmed me so much because we got to see like family videos. We got to see you as a little kid. We got to see you like what your life is like, and you shared so much in this video. So I just want to play a little bit of "Don't Let the Light In" and a little glimpse of Mr. Steve Graham's life. Kurt, take it away.
Wonderful.
Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up right now.
All right, Kurt. Wake up, Kurt. Straight people. What are you going to do?
Oh, geez. The straights.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really want this, baby, I'm coming clean. You gotta know that that's hard for me. Before you came along, I never really saw how empty I'd become. If you'll just give me the chance, I'm gonna be the man, the one you know I was. Call downstairs, nobody has to know. We'll turn the cell phones off, leave the radio on, and you'll dance till you soak the light. And honestly, I think this whole you and me could be something that just works out. For your energy, and you got me dreaming out loud. Nobody has to know. We'll turn the cell phones off, leave the radio on, and you'll dance to your soul, baby. Please don't stop. Just take my hand. It's not, don't have to end if we don't let the light
I love this video so much. Like I said, what was it like putting that together and kind of revisiting where you've come from, and kind of seeing those images again? What was that like?
Well, so bittersweet, really. Like, most of it warms my heart. I had to start by actually taking our old VHS tapes. I had to like figure out a way to get them onto my computer digitally. So that was a whole, process to learn. And then I decided that I took all this footage and I just gave it to this guy, Michael Madrano, who actually I did a collaboration with. We did this song called Heal together, that I really love. And he was also doing some video editing. I said, why don't you just try and edit this together? I said, I can't be impartial about this footage because it's all my life, and so much of my heart and my memories are tied to this. So like, just put something together that speaks to you. So, it wouldn't have mattered what he chose, because all of those things are obviously memories that are really close to my heart. And so, yeah, it's like, I do love watching that video. It's one of my like least viewed, because it's not something with like, me and like a sexy guy or whatever. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did that. And I'm so glad I did that with that song, because I'm really very proud of that song as a songwriter. And it just has all of these memories that really made me who I am. It has people in my life that I've lost. At the very end, there's that woman that says like, Stevie, asking me to wave to the camera when I'm like 1 or 2 years old. And that's my Auntie Di. And she had just passed away like a year after I made that video. And she was someone that was, super close to me and my family, just a really phenomenal woman. Actually my godmother. So yeah, I mean, I could talk about it forever, but really just, it touches me. And so hopefully it touches other people as well. Because I had a very, in a lot of ways, I had a very kind of traditional growing up experience as like someone growing up in the 90s in the Midwest. So I hope that a lot of my fans see themselves in those clips.
It certainly is charming. Like I said, it's one of my favorite videos, and that's why I wanted to show it, because it is a little bit different than your other ones, and it gives us a glimpse as to where you came from. Something you've been very open about also, which I want to talk about because my life, is your relationship with alcohol. Alcohol is a big part of Pride life. It's a big part of LGBT nightlife. How do you deal with that mentally? It's always around, and it's part of the culture.
Yeah, so I was sober for 3 years, and it was while I was making that album. I had just I remember I was making my We Are the Night video. This was back in, I think, 2015. And I decided that, I just was overindulging, so I needed to stop. And so I wasn't sure how long I was going to stop, but it ended up being 3 years. And towards the end of 3 years, I was like, all right, I want to try to see if I could drink again in a way that's responsible and okay. And so now it's been like a year and 5 months since I've been like allowing myself to drink again. And it's been, to be totally honest, it's been a mixed bag. And I'm kind of at the point again where I'm like, I wonder if I'm just going to totally cut it out again, because, I'm an artist, and we artists, we're crazy, and we tend to overindulge. And so I'm at the point where I'm wondering, like, I may need to just totally stop again. I've really been trying to do moderation, but it's not always as easy for one person as it is for another.
Definitely not, especially, like I said, when you're surrounded by it. What was the tipping point when you started your 3-year sober journey? Was there like something big that happened? You're just like, okay, this is enough. I want to know that, and I also want to know what the first drink that you had was when you came back.
Oh, that's a good question. So I just found myself apologizing so much. Like I would wake up somewhere with someone and not remember exactly how I got there.
It was me, Steve. It was me.
Oh dear. Well, then I have nothing to worry about. I just would, and okay, so a thing about me is, and I've talked about this before, and it's so embarrassing, and I should be more embarrassed, but like when I drink too much, I'll like pee in the middle of the night and just wherever I am. So
you open the floodgates. Hey.
I literally opened the floodgates. So like that would happen. And like, I don't mean to, I'm talking about it lightly, but obviously like this could be a thing that's like serious for some people. It was, for me, it was like, it just was something where I was like, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. I feel like this is kind of heading from a place where it's kind of like light and silly and goofy, like, oh, I drank too much. And it's like starting to become something that's darker. So I stopped. And I very effectively stopped. And, you know, like when I finally decided to stop, it was like 3 years, you know, no alcohol at all. And then by the end of that, I was kind of missing it. I was just kind of missing that, that kind of like just letting go and being free and being goofy and silly. I felt like I was missing out on that. And so I did start again. I think, God, what was my first drink? It was probably a margarita, because I was living in Puerto Vallarta, where I do my residency at Act 2 Stages. And I was actually starting to film my music video about my music video for Pink Champagne. And I decided that I was going to start drinking during my video for Pink Champagne, which is kind of partially, that song is about my struggle with, you know, substance abuse and, you know, drinking too much and that kind of thing. So kind of ironic, kind of weird that I decided to do it that way, but that's how it is.
But you know, what I'm thankful for is that you're so open and honest about it, because these are things that we all deal with, especially, like I said, in the LGBT community. As a performer, you know, backstage, after parties, people expect you to be like the performer, the funny one. Hey, it's like, you know, you're funnier when you drink, you're funnier when you're the party guy. And then there's that other side of it. So your little like pee everywhere, that happens to me at a certain point in the evening of drinking. And it's like, oh my God, I'm going to wet my pants. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or you've peed somewhere where you shouldn't, because it's literally just going to happen.
Yep.
And now, like, I know, so like I'll be with someone, I'll be like, hey, like, we need to put some towels down.
You know, Steve, in all fairness, I think everyone has a line if they drink too much that they become involuntarily, you know, going to use their bladder. So I think, you know, for you, it might just been a little closer than for the rest of us, but we've all definitely had that experience at some point.
Yeah, you know, everyone is different. Everyone is different psychologically, and you know, their body's different. I clearly, like, even sometimes I wake up and I'm so surprised, because I'm like, I didn't think I drank that much. But it's funny because I was, and I'll just be frank, I was a bedwetter as a kid. Like, I had an issue.
Oh, interesting.
I had like an alarm. My parents put on like alarm, because they were like, we can't stop him from peeing. So apparently I just go into this very happy place where I just get so relaxed, and I just let it out.
It speaks to why, you know, why drinking was so appealing. But you got a good grip on it. And I think personally, even me, like I grew up Mormon, so alcohol wasn't a thing readily available for me. But as I became a performer, you know, everywhere you go and you're like a headliner, they spoil you. So anything and everything you could possibly want, they give you. And at some points when I didn't have a team that cared about me in a way where they would stop me, I was getting pretty drunk before shows, and I wasn't having the best performances because I was trying to get so relaxed. And it wasn't till I had my own creative director pulling drinks out of my hand before shows and telling me I could only drink 2, that I realized that I was headed down a similar path. And I kind of related to artists like Amy Winehouse and singing her music live. But I was like, you know what, maybe I need to take a break. Like, I'm not a kid who's used to this kind of a thing. So I felt that when you mentioned it, for sure. And especially as artists, we're put in situations where we can get a lot of things that maybe we didn't ask for. And if we do, it's so easy that we do succumb to a lot of vices we didn't know we had. And a part of our artist journey is making those decisions, sometimes publicly, to help remind us that we're bigger than those moments. You know what I mean? So I felt that for sure.
Well, I have so much respect for you that you did that then, because I know, I think that, you know, you said like you grew up Mormon, so that was something as I understand, like Mormons, no alcohol ever. So I sometimes feel like the people that struggle with it more are people that have had this very like black and white, this very dichotomy about drinking is bad or drinking, you know, is okay. Specifically, I think American culture in general, we sometimes struggle with drinking more because it's slightly more of a taboo here. I mean, we have our drinking age is at 21. So it's like, if you start drinking as a young person, you're considered kind of like a bad kid or a rebel. Whereas like a lot of places in Europe, if you're like in Italy or Spain, you know, a young person having like a glass of wine isn't really a big deal. Where we're here in, you know, in the United States, we have a lot more incidences of, you know, drunk driving and alcohol abuse and domestic abuse that's related to alcohol consumption. So it's lots to talk about.
Yeah. Let's talk about We're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what's going on in our community right now, and we're going to talk about underwear. All right, when we come back. Okay, and we're back. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit light, and then we're going to end up quarantine. I started quarantine a little lighter, and now I'm heavy. Okay, but we got to talk about undies. Not only are you a musical fabuloso, but you're also now a fashion designer. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Steve is the designer of Grand Access Underwear. How did you get into men's undies?
Well, as long as I can remember, it's literally how I realized I was gay. I think like there's this great meme of like this kid like, you know, walking down the men's underwear aisle, and like that's how they realize they're gay. I think that's like a common trope, right?
And also the JCPenney catalog, page 86 through like 88, was the underwear, and then you would flip to that and just look.
Exactly. So that was the case for me, and so I've always like really have just like, you know, attached, I guess, my sense of sexuality like to men's underwear and that kind of thing, and so that was kind of like where it stems from. And then I've always just been into like, you know, like finding underwear that I really love and that I think is like comfortable and sexy. And so since I was like out of my parents' house, I was starting to like collect, you know, a bunch of different underwear. I probably collected like hundreds, like probably like thousands actually. And I was always trying to like find like something that I thought was perfect for me. And I always felt like I couldn't find something like a certain brand that like really spoke to me. So I was like, all right, I guess I got to do this myself. So a couple years ago, I started reaching out to some designers to see if they could help me, you know, source materials and things like that. And long story short, by last December 2019, I launched officially, and it's called Grand Access, and that's grand like my name, and then access like the axis of the earth, you know, we rotate on an axis, so AXIS. And it's shopgrandaccess.com. And so I started with a pretty like small line. So I just have briefs, jockstrap, and boxer briefs, and it's all been selling really incredibly well. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy with how it's going. And we were supposed to launch swimwear in April, but obviously because of COVID, all the factories shut down. They're just now opening. Of course, I chose a factory that was in New York, which was like the worst place to be.
Yeah.
And so our swimwear is probably going to be coming out in hopefully by like late August, if not September. And
it's still warm.
They kept saying like, you know, maybe we should just cancel this order because it's going to be summer's over. And I said, no, my people, they're going to be planning their cruises. They're going to be doing. Smart.
But what I really love is that it's actually you sitting there and designing them. It's not like you're just slapping your name on something like your social media. We actually get to see you working on stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you see it on my social media, on Steve Grand Music is my Instagram, and also, you know, Grand Access is my Instagram. And yeah, people could see like I actually am like I like forced myself to learn how to sew, which was a total pain in the ass. Believe it or not, like the smaller the design, the harder it is. It's like you sew these like little like bikinis, and they're like the hardest thing because you're working with the stretchy fabric. So it's been it's been a learning experience. I always say like I'm this jack of all trades. I don't like get really great at anything, but I know so many kind of random skills between like being a musician and a producer, and like now starting my own business with the underwear line and like designing with that and setting up the store and distribution. Like I know like a little bit of everything, but like I'm no like expert, you know, kind of thing.
Well, I would say you're pretty good. Okay, we're gonna talk a little deep right now. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now, and as a Caucasian pretty boy in the LGBT community, and I don't mean that as a derogatory. That's just what I would label you. What is your view on what's happening with racial diversity in the nation and within the LGBT community?
Oh geez, I'm walking into like a way to just like set me up, be like, all right,
I know.
hey Steve, come on and end your career.
No, but these are
Walk
conversations
this
that we
tightrope,
need to.
and if you don't,
open
it'll
about.
all be over.
But
I mostly learned that
we're so afraid to talk.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's a valid way to feel. I mean, I think that you see the way that some people try to voice what they say and maybe are shouted down, and perhaps perhaps they should be. I have no one to say, but what I've learned is that I'm just trying to keep my mouth shut. I'm trying to listen and learn and all that kind of stuff.
Well, he said all the right things to me.
Well, see, but that's the thing. It's like we should be able to see if we have a different view on what's going on. We should be able to say that. And you do have a unique perspective. We've been hearing, from the different minority groups in the LGBT. And I want to talk with somebody like from your point of view, who sees it from a totally other side. And we were talking with Joey. Joey is like 100% Mexican, but like you would never know that, and you think, oh, Joey Suarez is going to be on the Latin stage at Pride, but it's true, And
Alex,
now we're
I
just
love
totally
you.
having to rethink.
I love that you called me Mexican. My fans are going to be so mad at you right now. No, you're good. I'm Argentinian and Cuban, but I mean, it's a good point, just because I do understand that being white, like you do feel like this moment of pressure where like everything you say could be dynamite. And I think I explained to Alex that you're in a unique position where, like you said, you're quiet, you're listening, you're thinking. Those are all the right steps. And when you get to the point of having a voice and opinion, like when somebody like Alex is pressuring you to have one, it really comes down to something like what I did. I equipped myself with the knowledge of my niece, who's an 18-year-old Black woman in this country, right? So I knew her words were the most valuable things in my world, and I wasn't scared to use them in any sort of conversation when someone was like, how do you feel about the situation? And I feel like for you, that's just the next step, right? Like, reach out to whoever is closest to you, who knows this subject matter so intimately that you'll take it up to arms, that anything they ask you to do is what you're going to do. And as somebody within the spotlight, we need that kind of ammo. We need that kind of position to kind of juggle with other people, because that's the environment we live in, especially when you're public.
Steve, what are new LGBT music artists doing right? Is there anything that they're doing wrong, in your opinion, from where you've come from and your experience?
No, I've never thought about it like as right or wrong. I think as long as people are doing what they want to do, that's what art is all about.
Yeah. Did you make any early mistakes early on in your career that you look back and you think,
no, really none whatsoever. I did everything perfectly.
Well, look, you are where you're at, so obviously you did, sassy pants. Sassy accent.
Yes, I did so many things wrong. That sticks out.
You're like, God, I wish every musician would not make this mistake.
I will say one thing, like I'm still like processing everything, because it's been 7 years since I really got started and was just kind of like thrown into it. I didn't have a build up. I would say like really learn to be able to laugh at yourself, not take yourself so seriously, and understand that like things aren't going to play out the way that you've like imagined since you were a kid. Like in your wildest dreams, I mean, I used my dreams to survive as a kid. Like when I was going through hard times, when I felt like just like a weirdo, when I was like, oh, like, God, I'm like this, I don't want to be gay. Like, I don't want to be this weird kid. I just want to like get through life. I want people to understand me one day. And you like play this whole like vision out in your mind that is what allows you to sustain yourself, this whole dream. But you have to remember, like, it's not gonna happen exactly that way, and that's okay. You need to be flexible. You need to accept that things are just gonna be, go differently than you think they are. And yeah, I'll say again, most importantly, I think that if it's important that you don't take yourself too seriously, and that you could, laugh at yourself and shrug things off.
I want to piggyback on that, because I think it's so important, this subject matter. And I feel like everything you just said, Steve, I completely agree with. And a good example of like I think that you have, and as well as I have, is if you're an artist out there, even if your fan base is only a couple thousand, don't be scared to ask. You know, crowdfunding can be a really scary thing. You think, okay, I'm just going to ask a bunch of random people for money, but you would be so surprised how many people out there believe in you. If you've really put your heart out on the internet and you really have something you're fighting for, like Steve said, a dream since you were young that kept you alive, there's a lot of people who can relate to that. And don't stop yourself short of a business opportunity to not just find people willing to donate their time and money to you, but there's a lot of people out there who are willing to invest in you like a company. And just how Steve's taken it to the next step, and he's done underwear and he's capitalizing on, you know, maybe some of his mistakes. It doesn't matter. A business is business. There are no mistakes. The only mistake you can make is not asking. So don't be afraid to, like Steve suggested, just lose all the fear and ask if you need it, and be prepared for people to look at you differently. But when you want something, you are not scared of anything. And until you reach that point in your head, you're not prepared for everything that's coming your way, because that shit is hard. You need a hard mentality to get through. So I'm piggybacking right off of what Steve said.
That's so true. And I think having a sense of conviction and like sticking with that sense of conviction, even when you're maybe getting pressure to change or something like that, that was something that I didn't know how to deal with, because I always made art with like no one really listening. I always made, you know, my own songs and music videos, just like with me and my friends, and no one was paying attention. And then when people started paying attention, like it's so tempting to, or not even tempting, but you're going to inevitably listen to what other people are saying. And maybe you're not listening to the right people, because there's so many different opinions. And you have to remember that the people that you're going to hear from are the people that either really, really love what you're doing or really, really hate what you're doing. And that could sometimes like drive you crazy and throw you off from what got you going on that path to success to begin with. So I would say, like, to the best you can, learn to separate what people are saying from like your own internal sense of drive and vision.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Steve, we're going to play a little rapid fire. Are you ready?
No.
Okay, the strangest, craziest habit you've picked up during quarantine.
I'm eating a lot of like crap meat, like bologna and salami.
Oh my God. Salami's not bad, but bologna? Oh my God.
I love like overly processed meat.
Said every queen.
Hey, his name is Bobby Trendy. It's fine. Okay, I'm gonna say a mood, and I want you to tell me the album that you would pull out and listen to. Okay?
Okay. Oh geez. Okay. I'll be bad at this.
So, a night out.
A night out. I would say Dua Lipa's latest record, Future Nostalgia.
A breakup.
Well, I mean, I immediately just think of like Adele's 21 record.
Okay, and protest.
Protest? I think of, I mean, I don't know the whole record, but Creedence Clearwater Revival, like Fortunate Son. I think of like that kind of like protest, like Vietnam War era, like stuff from like Forrest Gump, you know, like that music.
Okay, and last one.
It ain't me. It ain't me.
And Sexy Time with Your Man. What album are you pulling out?
God, music. I don't like associating music with Sexy Time for some reason, but
interesting.
Yeah, but like I would say like romance. Like honestly, this is where like my kind of country side comes out, and I would say like some like Sam Smith record. Like I just think his voice is so like sexy and romantic.
Okay, all right. A strangest thing a fan has said to you or asked you.
Oh, Sam Hunt. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I said.
I would say Sam Smith.
Hunt. I know. Sam Smith is a wonderful artist, but I was thinking of Sam Hunt, like country artist. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd, but okay. Strangest thing a fan has said to you or asked you?
I always try to like remember these because I always get like this question, but I don't know. I've had weird shit happen, man. People want to like buy my underwear and my shirts and stuff that I've worn.
Yeah.
You know.
Any pictures of your feet?
I get that sometimes. I get like some people that are just like, you know, they'll like, I'll post my feet in some picture, like just like I'll just post a picture of me and like my feet are showing, and then people are like, show your feet. But I don't want to shame anyone, you know, like whatever, like whatever people like. Sometimes I'll, you know, if I'm feeling, I'll be like, yeah, here's some more of my feet. You know, it's all good.
Okay.
That's so funny.
All right. And
good.
last but not least, who is your celebrity crush?
I'm a big fan of like Chris Pratt. Like I love like as a man, like just and I love his new music. And I wasn't like a big like I didn't like come of age like during One Direction or anything. I wasn't like a a teeny bopper fan in that way. But I just think he's like become such like a cool dude, and I think he's awesome.
Oh, and I got this question as well, and I think who sent it might actually be it. Who was your worst date? Or
who's my
what
worst
happened
date?
On your worst date? Like what happened on your worst date?
Yeah, name and address.
Let's call them.
Well, one time, I don't know if it's a worst date, but one time I was like kind of getting into someone, and they mentioned that like they're like, oh, you need a pedicure, like your toenails don't look very neat, and like that was it. I was like, all right, we're not on the same page.
No.
Wow.
Okay, Steve, can you tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you, and when can we expect new music?
Yes. Well, first I'll say where you guys could find me at Steve Grand Music, STEVE Grand, GRAND Music, MUSIC. That's me on Instagram and Twitter, and Facebook is Steve Grand Artist. SteveGrand.com is my website. Shop.stevegrand.com is my merch site. Shopgrandaccess.com is my underwear store. So those are all the places you guys could find me. As far as when new music is coming, I'm always trying to write. I've been like coming up with so many melodies lately, but I'm not completing anything. I've been so frustrated with myself. So I still have a ways to go before I'm going to release anything, but I'm always trying to write. I'm journaling a lot lately, and I'm just trying to find what I want to say. I just turned 30, and I'm like, you know, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not in my 20s. What kind of wisdom do I have to depart to, you know, the youth?
Okay, and Joey, tell our viewers and listeners where they can find you.
You can find me by putting my name anywhere. Joey, Joey, or that's not right. Joeyw Suarez, Suarez. I know it's confusing. I look white as hell, but I'm not. Put it in anywhere. You'll find me and my white ass. And I got new music coming out Friday and next month, the month after that. Y'all, I have so much new music. I'm exploding at the seams. So I'm really excited.
I'm exploding at the seams,
pass some of that.
Postmates.
Pass that inspiration this way.
Trust me, I will. I'll even pass the friends helping me do it. Because let me tell you, you definitely need a team to make this much shit happen. That's
please do. Well, message me.
I will.
Message me, bro.
I know.
Slide into his DMs, girl. All right, well, that's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun every week on The Rocks. Give us a like, a subscribe, a share, send nudes. Head to ontherocksradioshow.com for all this fun for free. Hopefully, we'll be back in the studio soon. And our studio is getting a glamorous makeover. I just saw some of the pictures today, so look forward to that when we're back in. Everybody, happy Pride. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay tipsy, or don't. It's your decision. All right, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Love you all. Have a good night.
This has been another episode of On The Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.